Hi. Yeah. Okay.
You gonna bring it up? There you go.
All right.
Don't be afraid of the mic.
Okay.
It doesn't bite. All right, I'll move this here. Cool. Dual recording, always. Okay. Whoop. So the fun part about what I do is dynamics, literally. You get to see different people, different dynamics, and how they work. You're gonna make me move that, aren't you?
What?
No, not you. the box. I'm looking at the box. It's under some cording. Here we go. But once you start to see, you can't unsee what you see, you know? So that's probably my favorite part about what I do, is that I see, and I'm just like, please, I want to be wrong. Let me be wrong.
Nope, you're not wrong. Nope.
All right.
I have the same kind of.
Do you?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I do for a living.
That's fair.
You know?
That makes a lot of sense to me, by the way.
Observing people.
On a regular basis.
Trying to help them find what's behind
Fair.
all the things.
Yes,
you know?
actually.
But you can't actually tell them what's behind all the things. You have to just
let it rock.
You have to help them and
That's
guide
the hard
them and
part.
then let them discover it.
I think that's the part, like, oh, there you go. You hear it? Can you hear it now?
Yes, I can hear it. Can you hear me?
That's the difference.
Yeah.
I cannot hear you yet.
Really?
No, not yet.
Huh.
Try it again.
Hi.
There we go.
Oh, it needs to be closer.
A little bit.
How's that?
You can actually pull the mic towards you like this.
Okay.
There you go. Yep. You
Okay.
got it.
How's that?
That actually is a bit better. Okay, so this is your first time on the microphone, right?
Yes, it is. Surprise on a
Right?
Sunday.
This is crazy. Like we've been doing this for a little bit. Where we do the whole microphone thing with different people. Do you want me to fix it? I can fix it if you want.
Does it need to be fixed? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're not close. So
Okay,
like
fix it,
you can hear
yes.
my voice in this one.
So I need to be closer.
Okay, there you go. That was it.
Okay. All right.
It's like
Okay,
right,
got
the
it.
first time you do it, but after a while, especially if you project, it goes out. Like I can be a little ways away from it.
Okay.
And you can still hear me. But
This is good?
yes.
Okay.
If you look over there at the little box right there,
Yeah.
you can tell when your voice goes off.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yep, I see it.
So that's me.
Okay. And then
There you
All
go.
right.
The right side. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Good.
Got it.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. This is the fun part.
Okay.
The fun part is the adjustment of all the equipment, and then we shoot with all the things. So it is Sunday, right? People don't care what time it is or day
Okay.
it is, but most of the time when we sit down, again, like I said, it's very, let's call it authentic, right? There's no scripts. There's no people telling like, oh, let's go with this topic, right? It kind of comes up on its own. And then we use that to kind of do. So maybe you want to tell people what you do.
Sure.
And of course, you're a member here, which
Yes.
most people will know when they see it.
Yes, I'm a member of the GID community, and I love being here. So I do a few different things.
Okay.
I'm a creative arts therapist, so I work a lot with trauma with people. And before I even went to school to be an art therapist, I started studying energy medicine and yoga, meditation.
The bag. That's
Yeah,
what I'm gonna
yeah,
call
the
it.
bag. Yep.
Let me adjust this real
And
quick.
then,
The bag. I like it. Keep going.
And then I became an art therapist as well. I went to grad school.
Very cool.
And I kind of kept everything I did separate from each other, like in
Yes.
little, in little corners.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay.
I think I was just unsure I wasn't confident about blending everything because I wasn't sure
Got
how
it.
people would
Take it?
view that.
Fair.
Yeah. But then, as I got
Fair.
older, I didn't care about those things, and I knew what the value was in
Right,
that. So then I started just kind of blending everything I did together and
Okay.
coming up with my own
There's
approach
a
to things.
piece right here. If you do this,
Oh,
turn it
to
towards
tighten
you.
it. That's what I was looking
for. I kind of,
Alright,
once I
got
saw
it.
you hit it for the fifth
Got it.
time, I was like, she might be trying to adjust it.
Got it. And then I also started studying sound healing a few years
Okay.
ago as well. So everything
cool.
I just kind of blend together. The type of yoga that I love to teach
Yes.
is yin yoga. and myo-yin and getting really into
What
deep
is
connective tissue.
myo-yin? Myofascial?
Well, yeah, it's
Okay,
kind of like
all right.
using like your pressure from your hands or like a foam ball or to get deep
Okay.
in pressure to release.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
All I knew about was that you taught yin, and then I sound immersion recently. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, lots of different
that's super
things.
cool.
Yeah, and the
Okay.
reason why I connect so much with that is because of the trauma component with that and
Got
how
it.
that helps release trauma stuck in the body.
Got it. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely have to find more of that.
Yeah.
In space, but like the right space.
Oh, yeah,
Like I
definitely.
feel like and this is gonna sound weird, right? Like I wonder if we're the right space.
I know.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I'm not sure either.
That's so interesting because it's coming up a lot in this month,
Yeah.
right? Like a lot of, I keep moving away from the mic now. Now I'm doing it. Like, this is gonna be interesting to say. Okay, so this is January, right? The month of difficulties for progression, right? Like the start of new things, wanting to change, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. It doesn't sound like
Careful way to say it?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck it. There's
There you
sometimes
go.
we do this stuff and I'm just like, why do I care if
Yeah.
it's comfortable for other folk or not, right?
Yeah.
Like I always want my message to meet more people, but at the same time it's going to reach who it needs to reach.
That's
So
right.
so let's say it like this. There's a lot of trauma in a lot of people and a lot of bodies, and even though we've created such an amazing space, like I've definitely never experienced space like we have here. I also wonder where people can release trauma safely, where they get a chance to be accountable to said healing from trauma.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
It makes complete sense,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah, because I don't think, I've seen a lot of places help people get into what their traumas might be, but I've also watched a lot of places like leave them there.
Yeah, help.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, people
Okay,
unpack
okay.
it and then they're like, all right, have a great day.
Yeah, and I'm just like, well,
Yeah, that's
what
not
are
the
they
way to do
supposed
it,
to
for
do
sure.
with it now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just me, because
Nope.
I was definitely wondering. I'm like, damn, I definitely have seen a couple different places do that the wrong way,
Oh, for sure.
and then that person is completely jacked up,
Yep.
right? So, that's interesting.
That's why I've never done myo-yin here.
Got it. Got it. Right, right.
You know,
Because
yeah.
the people who come in here, yo, they need yoga bad. Like,
Yes.
I ain't gonna lie to you. Look, I love y'all. But at the same time, a lot of y'all need some release. Goodness gracious. Like, y'all just pent up. They're just pent up and like, let's say stuck.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Right? I think that's a lot of people, but especially
most
in
people,
here.
on some level, most
yeah,
people.
fair. That's fair. That's
And
fair.
I don't know that people really know how to navigate that, or that there's a possibility to be unstuck.
To
I think
navigate it.
people just kind of keep going every day and keep moving through all the things, and you just keep surviving and moving, and that's what you
Okay.
do, and you
Okay.
suppress things and not think about things.
Fair.
But I don't
think
think
about it like
people
that.
understand that. Yeah, you can do that. You can keep going, but those things are still there. They're still They're still like lodged in your body somewhere. They're still in your unconscious. They're going to come out in ways that you don't want them to come out.
Fair. And I think so like this is again, this is one of those moments where like I've seen that pop up at least 3 times this month. Starting in December, leading into, I think about one specific moment where my trauma tried to pop up, and it was funny because the person I was talking to like has experienced something similar. So they started speaking on trauma, right? Like not understanding it, but just
Right.
speaking on it. Like, oh, that's your trauma for this, and that. And I say, you know what's funny? I don't think it's trauma that's the problem. I think it's how people respond to it, right? Like I was like, so I use
That
my
is
trauma
so
to heal,
true.
right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, like I use my trauma to help other people. So like I said this a while back. I said that to the same person. I said, I fell in love with you, and I didn't really, like, it was God's love, but it was through me, right? So when I fell in love with you, I fell in love with you so I could see past some of the things I would normally put up with, right?
Right.
So when those things popped up, then God was like, it's okay to shut the door, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I don't want anything. I don't even want to talk to you anymore,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't to be rude to this person. It was to say like, I remember how this happened. I mourned that relationship,
Yeah.
right? And so many people were like, why is this such a big deal to you? And I was like, because I really care, right?
Yeah,
Like I'm not one of
because
those
you
people who
get
just
it.
makes it up. Yes,
Yeah.
I really give a care. So when I say I care, when I say I love you, I don't take that lightly. And if you don't know me, then you think, he probably says that to everybody. And I was like, but I really don't, right? I don't say I love you often. When I do, I mean it. And the way I'm sharing it is for the healing of both of us. You get what I'm saying? So like, for me, it's interesting to say stuff like that and then to have people respond to it, right? Some respond to it by love back. Some respond to it like, there's no way you could love me. And I didn't realize in this instance, it was from a place of brokenness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like until that person revealed later. But I had to create separation between us in order for that person to see that.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yep.
that's interesting. I look, I didn't even think we were gonna do that. See why the mics are magical. Things.
Yeah.
Right? But like there's a lot of folk who need to release, and that's what yoga did for me, right? And that's why I haven't taught in a while either. I haven't taught in a while because I wanted to it had to be real for me, right? Like
Yeah.
it couldn't be something where I just come in and I teach an asana and then we all go home and we feel better, right? Like that ain't yoga to me.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yep. I
interestingly
approach it
enough,
the exact same way.
okay, see, so like
Yep.
at first I felt really bad, especially when before COVID happened, I was teaching and like my class had like 30 people in it. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
But it kind of sucks at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't
it's
popular to be popular.
the flavor
Yeah.
of yoga.
Right.
You know?
Well, I was teaching in LA,
Oh, yeah.
LA Fitness. Well, you know what's funny? I felt better there than like, I won't name any specific yoga place, but other yoga places I had been in teaching, I felt better there
Wow.
because I wanted to bring it to people who didn't have it.
Right.
Right. And I've been doing this for a couple years now, so you don't see a lot of men doing yoga. Right. And then even further, you don't see a lot of black men do yoga. Right.
No.
There's a stigma in our community about how demonic yoga is. Right? And yoga itself is not demonic at all. What people choose to look at or to focus on
Yep.
is what makes it either demonic or not. But
No, the teachings are not demonic.
right, well that's why I said what people focus on.
Right, yeah,
Right? So
yeah.
like yoga in and of itself, not at all. Right? But when people take certain things and decide to, let's say, pervert it by shrines they place in space, by things that they talk about while they're doing it, right? Even to a degree, when people do the whole you are okay as you are thing, I like, it grinds my gears a little bit.
Because you're like, no, you're not.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I was okay how I am, right? Like, look,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be
love
sitting
how
on
you
this
just put
mat
that.
sweating and
Yeah.
like feeling feelings that don't feel good if it was okay to just be how I am.
Yep.
Right? Like, so when I hear that, I really used to be like, why would you say? And then I realized it was being said in a lot of different spaces and places.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? It's like be okay how you are. I remember this one instance specifically. The lady said, you are who you're called to be, and you're beautiful and amazing and exactly you are. And then she like grabbed someone's hips and like ripped them towards
Oh
the
my
ceiling.
God.
Right? And I was like,
So many things wrong with that.
I was just like, again, it's the message, what we're doing in action. So for me, yoga was a release that I didn't know I needed, that I dove into head first, and then I found balance in, right? Versus, I think for most people, it's an escape,
Yeah.
right? So like trying to recreate that is exactly what we were going to talk about today
Right.
anyway.
Right.
So I'm just kind of laughing. I'm laughing because I was like, yeah, this is going to be one of those therapeutic things where we talk about it. And I have been feeling called to my mat more than ever. And I've been kind of playing with it a little bit. You know, we're doing the lunge challenge thing. So I've been doing a lot of stuff that's like uncomfortable for me. And then this came up. And I was like, all right, I guess. All right.
Yeah.
But even more so now than ever, again, I feel people need it. So do you want to talk about
So true.
let's talk about what it means to pursue yoga in a way that feels authentic to the individual. Like, what would you suggest? What would you say about it?
Well, I would say, I think in order for a yoga practice to feel authentic, you have to be guided in. So So like that person saying, you're great just as you are, or whatever message that
Right.
some messages that yoga teachers have are really
Amazing.
wonderful.
Right.
That's great.
Right.
But the really important piece of it is that you're guided in. Like that's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to
Sure.
it's not to be connected to your mat and listen to this message that a teacher is telling you about
Right.
and then go on that journey.
Right.
It's about going in to find what you need and release what you need, or bring up into like consciousness what you need.
Okay,
and,
fair.
And to
Yeah.
heal what you need.
Fair. Okay. I didn't
It's
think about
always
it,
to
but-
go in. It's always to go in and connect. That's why whenever I teach, I don't really have a lot of messaging.
Right.
And when I was going through yoga teacher training, that was like so important to have your yoga messaging, on
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
And it just never connected with me.
Fair.
So I focus more on breath. I focus more on what people feel in their body. I focus more on trying to bring a person in so
Okay.
that they can find whatever experience they're supposed to have.
Fair. Yeah, it's made me think about my own teaching, right? Like when I'd be like, all right, so I want you to look at your mat, and these are your four corners, and stay on your mat. And then I would just start teaching.
Right.
And then I think a lot of people were like, oh, he means like, we don't want to be in other people's way. I'm like, no, I
No.
want you to focus on yourself.
Right.
Right? Like, because a lot.
Don't
that's
look
what a
over
lot of
there.
people-
Don't look
Exactly.
over there.
I don't know this pose. And then they look around,
Right.
and then they miss the point.
Yep.
Right? What if you are wrong? Who cares?
Yeah. Who
Right?
cares? You're just feeling it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Right. And
Yep.
and again, I get little guidance makes sense, right? But that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be enough guidance for you to take the
Guidance.
journey.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Your
A
journey.
lot of it feels
Yeah.
like direction, not guidance.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm like, I felt kind of bad about it. But ironically, I've probably taught in 4 different spaces here in Rochester. And LA Fitness felt like the most genuine when it came to connection, which is so weird to me.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
It's really weird.
But also not. Like if you
I think
really,
it's less yogis.
I have to be careful what I say
Yeah.
here too, but like if you really break that down, it's not weird because you're dealing with just real everyday people, you
Yes.
know?
Yep.
And so when you have less yogis, it's easier to
Listen.
help people connect with themselves
Yeah.
because there's like a veil.
There is a barrier when you already have
Yes,
a practice,
there is.
right?
There definitely is.
And like I was listening to, you probably don't know this guy's name's Brandon Copeland, and like probably 4 months ago he put up a thing that said "fuck yoga," right? And he's like a humongous teacher in
Yeah.
Chicago,
Yeah.
right? So like a lot of people are like, "That's weird. Is he quitting?" He's like, "No, he's not quitting. He's just tired of what he sees."
Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
it's interesting in concept, right? Again, I want to get back to guidance, not direction. And for me, that means like I can't even teach from a space where I don't practice, right? So like a lot of people say, well, why don't you teach? I was like, because it doesn't feel right, right? Like it doesn't feel right to teach when I'm not on my mat myself,
Right. Yep.
right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And I can definitely say, see, you had the experience of like messaging. We had the experience of know what you're doing it for, and then that was it. Like, and there was a lot of talk of social justice.
Yep.
But that was it. Like that was as far as it went. You had your own messaging. You did it for your own reasons. And I remember this specifically because this changed. I think this is what changed my life to where I am, who I am today. I remember we went around a circle, right? And this was the very first day of yoga teacher training. Everyone's telling their story, what they're going through, who they want to be.
Right.
And then they're like, all right, Linda, you want to tell your story? And I was like, not really, but at the same time, sure. So I started talking about like the life I had before I was a husband and a father, and like the things that had came up for me before. And here's what makes me laugh. Only if you know her do you understand this, right? So Marty listened to like probably 20 stories before this. Didn't say a thing. So then I'm like, yeah, I used to do this, I used to do that. And then she was like, when are you gonna let that go? And I was like, wait, what? Everybody just told their story. That's what y'all told me to. She said, yeah, but that's not who you are anymore, right? And and up to that point, I had, in order for me to get where I had and build what I built, I had to realize and remember who I was in that regard, right? So like for me, that story helped me to remind myself of who I was, right? So when she said that, because again, if you know her, you know, right?
And I do know. And it's valuable stuff.
Exactly. She only gives enough for you to guide yourself, which I hate so much sometimes because I want her to tell me what she sees, right? But I've also noticed that I've started to take that same path myself when helping people. So I can thank her for that, right? Before, I'm telling you, there's like 3 or 4 milestone moments where I would call and be like, yeah, I'm there, this, and this. What you think? And you'd be like, well, what do you think? I'm like, I think this, and this, and this. And then she'd be like, you should do it that way.
And what a great teacher that is.
I'm like, wait, yo, give me more, right? Like, I understand now why she didn't.
Right, because she took you in.
Correct.
That's what she did.
That's why when you said it, I was like, huh, right?
That is
I didn't
the most
think
important
of it that way.
thing.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's also why I would much rather teach in a community like this than a place for yoga.
Fair, because, okay, so now it's starting to tie for me, right? Because, like, Courtney, I'm telling you, when I was teaching, first of all, I had like 2 people the first class, right? Like, and I was like, whatever, I don't care. I'm getting paid to do this, it's fine, right? So I didn't care how many people showed up or didn't, but then I knew I was different because I didn't want to do it the way I saw so many other people doing it. Then the class went from 4 to 5 to 10 to 30, right? Next thing you know, I got a whole row of men in the front, and they're just like, what are you doing? So what started happening, which was interesting to me, was yoga teachers started coming. And they didn't say anything. So I would just be in there and they would be teaching. I literally taught probably 4 to 5 private sessions in the next 3 months. Like, well, your yoga's different and we're wondering why. And like, what do you do and how do you look at this? And sometimes it was about the physical component. Then other times it was about the understanding of the other components, right? Like asking me like, what's your philosophy behind teaching? I'm like, I don't have one. They're like, you don't? I'm like, nah. They're looking at me like that's mad weird. I'm like, that's all I got, right? Like I don't know what else to tell you, right? When we come in here, I turn on some music, and literally whatever got me there that day is the thing I use to guide.
And that's authentic.
Yeah, that's what feels authentic to me, right?
Yep.
So when people are like, I got serious, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm about to talk about, right? Yep. And eventually, I started learning the importance of having my own guidance to guide people, right? But at first, I was like, I don't know, right?
Yep.
I just go in, some lady in the back would be like, oh, you here to take class? I'd be like, sure. And I would walk in and I'd go to the front and start teaching. And then afterwards, I'd watch them try to scurry out. So I'd stop them, how'd you like class?
Yeah.
Right? And they would go, oh, well, it was good.
It was interesting.
Really good. Yeah, it was really good. And I'm like, oh. I was like, well, was my first time okay? You know, like to call you out but not call you out at the same time? And they would go, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's okay, right? We all make judgment calls, right? And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. And then we would sit and we would talk about it. Next thing I knew, I'd be sitting with 10 people after class. Like that's a normal thing when I teach, which is so interesting to me, right? Because
that's a normal thing when you teach in here too.
Yeah,
to be sitting with people, you know.
It's not on purpose.
No, but it organically happens. It's beautiful. Yeah.
It's because at first, I remember I was reading so many things about putting on a show, right? And I was like, that doesn't feel good to me. But then the more I saw a lesson pop up and paid attention, I realized that I was doing that, right? Not to be showy, but to teach a lesson, right? So that's what always comes up after. The lesson,
absolutely.
Which is weird.
The lesson is always after, absolutely.
So when we do this stuff, so we're talking about release in general, or the ability to be authentic on your mat, because that's basically where this has gone.
Yes.
Being authentic as a teacher on your mat leads to the authenticity of the other folk, right? So, how do you cultivate? Like you said, it's talking about the myofascial or opening up for trauma. How do we do that and make it where not only is it authentic to us who are doing it, but also, I hate this word, safe for the people who are doing it. I hate the word because of what people connotate it with, but at the same time, it's necessary.
For sure. Yeah. I think something like, I guess it depends on what we're talking about, but I think something for like a Myo Yin class, I don't think that would be necessarily the type of class I would just teach. I think that there would need to be some kind of planning or preparation behind a class like that.
Yeah, fair.
Because I would always want to, and this is in every aspect of what I do, I always want people to know ahead of time what's going to happen, because that's a
Fair.
huge part. Everybody's walking around with
that's
trauma,
definitely you.
first of all.
Yeah, we were
Yes.
just talking about that before we
Yep.
got on here.
Yes. Everybody's walking around with some kind of trauma.
Fair.
You know,
Yes.
some people way more than others. Some
Yes.
people are walking around with full-blown
I was gonna
PTSD.
say in it.
Yes, in it,
Yeah.
totally in it.
Fair.
So giving people the control of knowing all the information first, especially if they're going to be doing something vulnerable, is very important.
Got it. I think I'm learning that now. Because, again, normally when it comes up, it's something we can kind of work with, and then I will meet with a person in space.
Yeah.
But as if we really teach this thing, then I have a feeling that people are going to have to know, because some of the people who are going
Yes.
to be coming and looking for the things. So it's interesting.
And I'm all about that. I'm all about people knowing and asking questions
I wasn't. I'm
and
doing
deciding, let's see what happens. Right?
Yeah, if you show up, you show up. Like,
Yep.
That's been my thing for a long time. So this is going to be new for me for sure.
Yeah.
Right, but also a different type of intention, because I've never done myofascial before. Like, I do myofascial work.
Yeah.
And know and understand it a little bit.
Sure,
But
yeah.
at the same time, first of all, I've never claimed to be an expert.
I'm not an expert
And
either.
secondly-
I do not
fair,
claim that.
Fair.
Okay.
And then secondly, I would say, I said this a moment ago. You have to be prepared for what comes up to be able to guide a person to safety.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, that's probably going to be the most important part. Right? It's not going to be just bringing the thing up. It's going to be leaving you in a space where you can explore it without feeling like you're just triggered for the next week, day,
Definitely.
hour, couple hours, right?
Definitely.
I want you to be able to sleep sound when you leave.
Yep.
So that's why when you started doing the immersion stuff, I thought that was really cool. And they loved it, right?
Which stuff?
When
Wait.
you did you were doing the sound yoga
yeah.
the one day.
Yeah.
And we tested it, right?
Yeah.
That was the same day you broke your triangle.
I know. That was very sad. That was a bittersweet day.
I was gonna say, it's like a new beginning thing.
Yeah,
but
right.
also
Maybe it
like
is, yeah.
Damn, I just lost this thing I've had forever.
Yeah.
Right. So
was okay,
it was
though.
symbolic a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we went the
Yeah, that
whole
was a really-
class.
I know, right at the
whole
end.
class that
Right
you
at the
walked
end.
and broke it. I was
Yep.
like,
Yep.
right.
That was a great class, though.
It
That was a great class.
Right. That was the day I saw Bryce. Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And Bryce was like, hey. It's weird. I
How's it
haven't seen you
going?
since that one thing.
Oh, God.
And I was like, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
Man. Like, don't worry about it. Right? Like he
yeah.
was worried, and I'm like, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. And then he hugged me. And I was like, we're all experiencing, man. Like,
All experiencing, all
correct,
learning.
Correct. And as long as you're okay with that, I don't feel like there's any need to walk away upset. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
maybe that's part of it.
Yep.
Is that going to be part of it? Like to lead someone to safety means to create the you're okay space?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Because it's like been my big thing to not do that, right? Like,
Giving people tools ahead of time is really important too.
yes, okay,
You know?
all right,
Like, so for example, say if we were going to do a series of this. So we're planning a class, but maybe
Yeah.
we're going to do a series.
See, I think this is definitely going to become a series
Okay.
based on what we're
All
talking
right.
about today.
So a lot of preparation would
Okay.
go
All right.
into that in those first, couple sessions.
Okay.
So a lot of pranayama, a lot of breath work,
Okay.
a lot of, I like to call it imaginal medicine. So
Imaginal medicine.
yes.
Yeah, you
so
got to explain that.
yeah. So like sometimes when when I'm doing trauma work with people, even though this is not the same thing, it kind of translates.
Okay.
I'll teach them how to meditate intentionally, visualizing a certain thing.
Okay.
So if someone is experiencing distress or something's very triggered for them, and they start to have some kind of physiological response, with their breath and with their mind,
Yeah.
they can go to a space that kind of brings that all down.
Okay, so that's what you mean by tools is something they can use to bring themselves
yes.
down.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
fair,
Because
fair.
people are going to experience. I mean,
Yeah.
people even in regular yoga classes,
Oh, yeah,
people
stuff
are on their
happens.
mat crying
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. I had a lot of that, which
Yeah.
was very weird for me at first, because again, I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Like I wasn't.
You're like, what did I do
prepped.
wrong?
I was like, oh.
Right.
Right? And then, I didn't even teach meditation at first, right? And a lot of it had to do with the fact that I was like, I don't really think I know what I'm doing, so I don't want to teach things I don't understand.
Right.
So that was part of it, but then after a while, it was like, nah, that's sacred space.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so for me, I just don't want to be out here doing what I see feels authentic to me
Yep.
or inauthentic to me.
Yep.
I wanted to do it in a way where I was like, yo, if I do a meditation, I don't care what you get from it. I care more about how I presented it to you so you could get something
Exactly.
from it, right?
Wherever you go with it.
Yeah, it's up to
Yes.
you. I didn't want it to be something where it felt like I was like, damn, I really messed that up because I said this word instead of that word. It was more like what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then guiding you to a place where you could come out and say, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Right?
That's right.
Versus being like, I have no idea what just happened and now I'm upset. Right?
Right.
Which you do see.
Yep.
Right? And
Because
again,
if you direct people to a place,
fair.
you're not directing them to what may be safe for them.
fair.
You know?
Interesting.
So,
Yeah.
so if you're guiding them to go to their safe place, then that's going to be easier for them.
Got it.
Safety
and that's
is
why you
key.
arm with tools.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So,
That
and the
makes more
tools are
sense.
about themselves,
That
not
makes
just what I
way
might
more
be
sense.
imparting for them. It's about
Got
them pulling out what's in them
Right.
to create that.
And then by having the tools to pull themselves out.
Exactly.
Even if you are guiding.
Yep.
They get a chance to come
Yep.
out as they need.
Yep. And that's a really important thing for people to discover as well, that they have that control.
Yeah.
And they can do that for
Fair.
themselves.
Fair. See, so like, the whole thing here is like we didn't call ourselves a safe space because I saw what safe space
Yep.
was becoming. So we call ourselves a brave space.
Right.
So it's safe with accountability.
Right.
Right.
I
so
love that.
Thank you.
Yes.
The whole thing is shout out to Brandon Stroud if he ever watches this because me and him sat and we workshopped this for like 3 hours.
Wow.
And that's how we came up with the concept, right? Because we know a lot of people, a lot of folk who go to spaces and they're told it's safe and they don't feel it's safe.
No.
And then now that I'm putting it together because we're talking about it, part of that and the reason why we created Brave was to do with the fact that like there needed to be something that taught people, again, it's okay to experience, but it's better to learn from it, right? Or to come out of it and be in a better space.
Yep.
Instead of it being something where you just going through it and you stay there. I feel like so many people stay stuck in their
They
experience.
do.
Yeah.
They really do.
So growing from an experience has a couple different facets. Right now in space, we're going over like physical, let's call it physical exertion, to create the type of change you want in your life, right? So like, I don't think I've told you this.
What?
So I've been coming here in the mornings before everyone gets here and doing my own lunges and things of that nature. But I'm playing like marching music or like worship music or something, like I'm setting the atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
I learned my mother taught me the importance of that, right? My mother taught me the importance of, because she would be up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and I would hear her like praying for us, right? For like
Wow.
hours.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
Right? Like for hours. So, and I'm talking about like, you could tell she was in spiritual warfare, not just some, hope they do okay, right?
Yeah.
But like, she was fighting for
God,
our
please protect.
safety.
Yeah.
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 Like crying and screaming out.
Wow.
And I would wake up and
That's
and be
powerful.
like, the hell is going on? And then listen, and I could hear her saying that my family will be safe and I will, and again, protect my family, keep them safe, right? Putting on the armor, like all these concepts. So now as a grown man with my own family, and realizing that I have the same burden, I have prepared this space. That's why when some people come in and they're like, oh, it's so nice in here. We're like, oh, it feels so welcoming. I was like, yeah, because I've been in here working for an hour.
Yeah, you've been in here
Yeah.
creating an energy vortex
Yes.
of safety
Exactly.
and sacredness. That's what
Exactly.
you're doing. Yeah.
So it's interesting.
love
to
that,
me.
Lyndon.
I didn't think about it. You get what I'm saying? It was something that I just did.
Yeah.
And I did it because my mother did it for me, right? And I feel like it's the gift you give.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
If you don't give the gift, then you're not really fulfilling the purpose of said gift, right? How many times I've met people who do not give the gift? They're
Yep.
just keeping it. They're being selfish with
Yep.
it. They're sharing it in moments, right? And then they're saying, well, I'm fulfilling my purpose. I'm
Yeah.
like, are you though?
Yeah.
Right? Like, are you really? Because if maybe I didn't understand how much of a yogi I was until I hit a mat. You understand? Like for me, it was different because when they talk about social justice, I understand it or I don't, right? But having Mama Yoga, because I don't want to use names in case people be trying to be funny. Having Mama Yoga, bump it, Imani helped me to navigate things, right? We said we're gonna be authentic. So having someone like Imani teach me the difference, like watching my yoga mother and my actual mother interact and seeing how that went was so interesting for me for the first time. And then when they met the second time, oh, it was beautiful. But the first time was so interesting.
Why? What happened?
Right? My mom's standoffish as hell.
Really?
She like me, right? Well, I'm like her. So she kind of puffed out her chest the first time she met her because I called her Mama Yoga.
Oh boy.
Right?
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking. I was just doing. We were at Scio Street, over there off of Scio Street. There's a recreation center over there. So we were doing yoga for the kids, and I was talking to some of the kids. And they started asking me questions. So I was like, yo, Mama Yoga, can you answer this? And then she was like, oh, yeah. And my mom said,
Your mom's like, who you calling Mama?
Exactly. See?
Yeah. Yep.
So it became a whole thing. But the second time they met was beautiful. Like, they embraced, they hugged.
Yeah.
They talked about me. And it was interesting. It was, like, beautiful to watch. So I think we got it. I think we got an idea of what we're going to do next.
We do.
So a series,
Okay.
creating, using, or giving people or arming people with tools so they can not only experience the journey, but also come out on the other side of it with the equipped tools. So whether they choose to come out of it or not after we've guided them to safety is up to them.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I like that idea.
So we're creating safety.
Yes.
We're creating a sacred space.
Okay.
But we're imparting tools for people to create that for themselves within
Fair.
as well.
Fair.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
I've literally taken time off of teaching yoga because I was like, yo, the next time I teach, it's gotta feel right.
It's gotta feel right.
Right?
That's right.
And ironically, just recently, I took a friend to a yoga class and they were like, it's kind of cultish. Right? And I was like,
That's valid.
I was like, you know what? I get it. But like,
Yeah.
I done learned so hard to move past what people are doing and just get what I need that I'm like, I don't see it that way.
Right.
Right? But
someone coming into that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. That's it right there.
Sure.
Right? And what I was hoping, I said, please let at least like Marissa be there or a specific person I know gonna help bring
Yeah.
that real to it.
Yeah.
Right? And that didn't happen. So we went and it was very surface.
Yep.
Right? And not against it, but then you've met, Marissa and Ben. So like Ben was there, we talked for a minute and I was walking in there like it was my house. I went in the back room where the stuff was. I'm like,
'Cause you felt safe.
Yeah, right?
'Cause you
I
felt
didn't
safe.
even realize that. When I
Yeah.
fell asleep in class, like I had never fallen asleep in a yoga class. The second time I went to a yoga class was Imani's class. And I spoke in tongues the second time when she did Shavasana. The first time I didn't even stay for Shavasana. Right? 'Cause
That is not surprising to me though, because that's what Imani does.
yeah, 100%.